Okay, so at this time, we're going to bring up Maryland Department of Transportation. Mr. Crampton, if you'd like to approach the podium, sir, and tell us why you're here. Okay.
Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to come and visit with you tonight. Obviously, we're here to discuss the World's End Turn down here.
So that mic does not really amplify; it just records for the. Can you get? Is it on? I mean.
So I'll face you, maybe it'll be a little bit better this way. So, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to come tonight and talk about the 336 World's End Turn culvert replacement. And so, obviously, we're here to entertain any questions you have, try to give you some information of what is planned to be done. And if there's things that we have suggestions or things we have not considered, we're all ears to take them back. But the long and short of it is the culvert that's down there today is essentially failing. And as you know, last fall we put some temporary work down there to put some stone and timber up to kind of squeeze the road together to hold it, because until then we didn't have even the full lanes. Some of the white lines started to go out. What's planned is the metal pipes that are there today will be replaced with the same size and number of concrete pipes. In order to do that, the work that has to happen is you build essentially a coffer dam or a containment area around the pipes, get it watertight, take the water out, excavate the material, the pipes themselves, and simply replace it back in. What will go there tomorrow, or when it's all done, is exactly what you see today, except when you look down the water, it's not metal pipes, it's concrete pipes. The reason is the metal pipes simply are failing. They corrode with the briny water. The concrete pipes will hold up better. As far as head walls and things like that to put on there to help hold the end of those pipes, we're not allowed to do it. Because it's an emergency situation, we have to replace it in kind. So while I would love to put a bridge over that and span it, I don't have the permits to do that. That takes time. If I was going to put a box culvert in there, precast, and just simply drop it in, it's a different hydraulic opening, and it's a whole completely different process on state and federal permit agencies versus simply to put back what's there with a different material. So what we're proposing is the simplest and quickest thing to cut down on the detour, the time of the detour. So one of the questions that was posed to me, Senator Mouse and some others have reached out and said, well, can't we build the culvert half at a time? Ideally, yes, if I had enough room. So normally travel lanes on roads are anywhere 11, 12 feet. If we were to do that, on the outside we could put concrete barriers, which at their base are 2 foot wide. So 4 and 12, 16. I don't even have 24 foot of road out there. So I can't do it half the time. There's simply just not enough road left out there. The other part of that is, even if I was able to do that, you're talking about setting those barriers now on the vertical surface. And as you all know, in the marshland, that material is not strong. It's not going to hold up the weight. So what happens? I either have to fill it, which I can't do because that's half the road. I physically just can't fill it half the time, as much as I'd love to. So the whole coffer dam, take the pipes out, put the pipes in, is the quickest, easiest solution. And in a sense, you're going to take these metal pipes out, you're going to drop about 2 dozen or so sticks of pipe in on 3 lines and put it back in. The contractor we have for it is Bramble, and they've done a lot of work. They're not new to the game. So we have a good contractor. We have plans as far as coordinating with the county, as far as what is going on out on the road out there. And if it gets busted up on the detour, we fix what we break. So it's not like we're going to come in and destroy something and say, see you later, we're done. The other thing we're going to do, because A lot of folks aren't going to be used to riding this road. You know, some of the concerns are it's a very long detour. And while some folks are going to go across the shore Key Wallace route, I have to sign them to come out up to 16 by Christ Rock Church. So it's a longer detour for trucks, delivery vehicles, things like that, because I'm not going to take them down another county road that's as lower as what I've got there. Although many of the residents will probably do that. So what are some of the concerns?
How many days are you going to be down?
Let's hold off on
Okay.
public comment just for right now. I guess I will give you your turn, I promise.
Absolutely, and trust me, I can certainly take the questions. So the thought is that when we go out and do this, we're going to restrike the road that's out there now. So it is somewhat better visible than what it is. We're going to line it with what you see snow guide stakes or painted stakes with reflectors on them. There's going to be signs around the curves, you know, the little arrows or the chevrons, so people are familiar with it, they can drive it. Now, we're going to create depth gauges, if you will, so somebody riding down that road can actually see the depth of the water. Some other things that you can discuss.
There's no way.
Yeah,
Hold off on questions for right now, please.
unfortunately, there's.
I have to drive it.
I understand that.
Do
And
you drive it every day?
I don't drive it every day, but some of my employees do. Absolutely.
Okay.
Please hold off and let
And
Mr.
certainly
Hampton
our
finish
shops-
his
Our
explanation.
shops, in some of the things that we're going to experience, as far as us maintaining State Road south of the detour, we're taking that detour as well. Our employees who are going to the shop have to do that same detour. And quite honestly, I know it's a big pain in the rear end about it. And we can try to account for all the things from the construction side. What I can't control is how much the wind blows. I can't control how much the rain is. Right? And if I figured that out, trust me, I wouldn't be doing this for it. All right? But I can just tell you that we have talked a lot with the county partners on this. We've talked with our construction folks on this. We have talked with the permitting agencies on this to try to get the best thing we can to get in and out, to make this ripping the Band-Aid off as best as possible. So, now with that, yes, I'll take the questions that you have and do our best to answer them. So, yours was first.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know you've got an estimate of how much time you think it's going to do World's End. Is that a week? Is that a month? I mean, I know tide, weather, I know you got variables, but if it's 5 days or 7 days, it's one thing. If it takes 3 weeks or 2 months, economically, it's not massive like it is here in town, but there's a lot of things down there that are economically involved. My business is, we measured it the other day to go from one side of that turn around and back to the other side of that turn where I have to start again. It's a quarter-mile distance apart. It's 27 miles. Well, then at the end of the day, I go right back by where I went around to, and then I got to turn around and go around that again. So it's a 40-mile deal in the tide. I can't regulate when I go to work. And I know everybody knows that.
Like I said, the big unknown is we don't control the time.
I know.
So my best estimate on that, we're saying 3 weeks. The bulk of the time is up front to get the copper dams put in, get it dewatered. Taking the pipe job's relatively quick, especially when you're working 24/7. So what could happen? Okay, if they have to undercut the material because it's really bad, well, that could happen today if it failed. So we're saying 3 weeks. Do I think we'll beat that? I really do. And I'll tell you why. Because we're going to pre-order the pipe, so we're not have to wait for that to come in. We're going to do everything to set up the detour run as it comes in. We're going to do everything we can as far as getting real-time project updates on that. So the signs that we'll put up have QR codes. There'll be probably links to the county sites. And so you can see real-time stuff of what's going on. If there's an issue, then obviously then that word gets out fast.
A lot of things down there. A lot of people, I didn't realize. So I started at Andrews Road. Not all those people down, but just at Andrews Road. I do the mail. And I started looking at people who have, they're small businesses. They're not huge, but those people make a living. There's the first mailbox that I go to, and Sandy's in the building. Her husband's got a tractor trailer that he works on at his house. He probably can't take that thing across the Shortersworth Bridge. So now he's got to relocate. He's got to figure out how to do his business. And if you start, you ride around there and you look at the businesses, the people that are affected, people that are sickly, that the ambulance needs to be there in a minute, which is already a problem in that part of the county. And it just, I just think that there's, and I know your hands are tied, but I just
Some points.
ride on the road with tide. I can tell you when I do the mail, when I get to Shorter's Wharf and turn around, I know when the tide's down. You know how I know? Because 75 people are going to town that way.
Yeah.
When I don't pass nobody, I know the tide's on. And I'm done.
Your point's well taken. And so, in some of the things, like you mentioned, first responders, things like that, okay, what are some things that could be done? Well, we wouldn't expect, ambulances and things like that to run through standing water. What could be done, is there outreach to folks like the Lifeline folks over here, if you've got a case like that? Are there things that could be coordinated through the Department of Emergency Management, a request out to them to maybe detour?
There was a fire in Talbot County this weekend. If something like that happens in the southern end of the county, well, you got this done. And I understand that everybody's trying, and I'm not trying to oppose it. Everybody's not doing their best. But there's people down there that their lives depend. And if that tide's up, you say you don't know if you're going to. There's no choice. These people, they deserve the same attention. And it's not massive like it is here in town. And those people become part of my life. My sister, myself, she had this mail route for 26 years. I've had it for 4, so 30 years. We've been servicing that into the county. So we've built relationships. And I just think that it just really needs to be careful how it's handled. That those people, because there's a lot of people down there that don't need to be left in the dirt because of Shorter's Wharf Bridge and the tide on that road.
Mark, I'm going to ask, I'm going to let you pick who goes, but if anyone would like to speak, and again, I really appreciate everybody giving each person their turn so everybody can hear. If you're able to stand, please stand, give us your name and address, and before you start your conversations with Mark. Also, before we go, I'd like to recognize Senator Johnny Motz, who came. I know Senator Motz, me and him have been on the phone the past couple days talking about. He's worked with our county management, our staff. He's taking your calls. He's relaying information to us as well as to State Highway. So we are hearing what you're saying. But I really appreciate everybody being so professional here tonight. So again, Mark, take whoever you want.
I don't know who was first. Okay, thanks for
I'm Lindsay Wheatley. I live at 3113 Edgar Road. I'm about 2 miles south of World's End Turn. This is not a pain in the rear. This is a massive safety issue. I want to tell you a really quick story. When my son was 3, he had an accident being a boy. He sliced his leg from his thigh to his ankle. It was really bad. We know that our life is and our survival is pretty much in our hands a lot of the times in South Dorchester. We haven't had an ambulance for 10 years, but I prayed to God. I called 911. I went to my neighbor's house. She's a nurse. She wasn't home. I tried to call my mom. I tried to call my mom again. Finally, my mom came there. I knew that I couldn't take my son in all of the bath towels with him bleeding and drive at the same time. A squiggly 3-year-old with lacerations from thigh to ankle. My mom drove us to town. We met the ambulance at Blackwater Bridge. It was 58 minutes from the time that I called 911 until we met that ambulance. In June, when you shut that road down, if it is under tide, how many more minutes are going to be added? This is not a pain in the rear. It's a safety issue. And yes, there's a lot of commerce. It's a vital area down there. World's End Turn doesn't actually mean that the world ends there. You've got an entire community that lives down there. There are more solutions. And I don't care if it takes county money, emergency money, state money, federal money. We deserve to at least drive our vehicles on that road without the tide adding an extra 10, 15 minutes on the end of someone's life. I've been there, and we know what it's like when the tide is high. That road should have been maintained, yes, for 20 plus years. We're not pointing fingers, we're just asking for the current solution. There can be money found to make that road safe. We know that World's End Turn is the first project. Blackwater Bridge is the second. You cannot ask this community to drive their vehicles through tide, God forbid an emergency, and that add 15 or 20 minutes. You can't life flight everybody in and out of that place. There's hundreds of us. My grandmother is 90 years old. She lives with us. I fear, what if I have to make that 911 call again in June when the tide is over the road? This is crucial for our survivability, living in a place that's already cut off from a lot of the world. You've got to find the money. You've got to do the right thing. Put extra pavement on that road so that it's passable. We understand, as one of our councilmen said, living on a peninsula, you might get your feet wet sometime. But we're talking about moderate tides. And I don't want to hear the excuse that there is not enough money or it's too expensive. There are equal stretches of pavement at the same exact elevation throughout the rest of that community that have been well maintained. That road was built on logs 100 years ago, just like the straight stretch to Crochrin. And that road has been maintained because there's a federal weather station at the end. There's no excuse for us to not have the same resources to be able to travel that road without tide if, God forbid, an emergency happens. Please find the money. Put that pavement on the road. Let us have a chance. Don't cut off our artery, please.
We'll certainly look at the EMS responses, because that's a whole other thing that's got to be solved regardless of that. So whether this thing's in play or not, and how that happens. And the second issue is the money's not the issue. It's the time that the pipe will last before we
You got
find it.
30 days.
And
See you
that's the
June
problem.
1st.
You know?
Money's not the issue.
No, the money's not the issue.
Let's
It's the
take it
time
up
to get
then.
the permits and the design done.
Why is there a design issue?
I'm sorry, yes, sir?
Why is there a design issue to put pavement down on that road?
The design issue isn't the pavement on the detour road.
Yes.
The detour road itself, when you put the pavement on there, you're going to add weight into it. And yes, if it was founded on logs years ago, but what's underneath of it, it's like anything else. When you put more weight, it's going to find its own gravity. It's like putting your hand on a sponge. What's it going to do? It's
Maybe
gonna
it will
squeeze
last
it.
for 30
It's going to
days.
squeeze it out.
One at a time, please. Bill.
So the issue is, like I said, it's not so much raising inches or something on the pavement. That's not the issue. The issue is what happens to the road once the weight is on it.
I understand. But also, I'm John Wall. I live at 2110 Wing at Bishop's Head Road. Couple of questions. So if we're dealing with pavement settlement, it's a subsidence issue. It's somewhat gradual. And isn't it possible to load it with a certain amount of pavement and monitor it? And if you need to put more pavement down, you can on a maintenance type basis to maintain the road. Because roads, you really, unless you do an engineering study, you may have some settlement. I agree with you. But you can also fix this element by just adding some more pavement over a period of time. You're looking at a period of a month. One of the questions I had at first, you're saying you're going to work 24/7.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's a round-the-clock operation, 7 days a week. Have you considered, as an example, of maybe putting in a Bailey Bridge, which can be installed very quickly, and then go after the right permits and do a permanent fix, and let the Bailey Bridge run there for a couple of years if you have to. If the permitting process takes a time, I'm sure. What has the United States Corps of Engineers said about emergency permitting?
Well, the only thing we've been allowed to do is replace it in kind hydraulically.
Why is
As I
that?
said, if we put the bridge in,
Why is that?
if we do that, we have to do hydraulic studies. And when I change the hydraulic opening of that culvert or bridge, something that's any different than what's there, the water's going to flow differently. And if it changes flooding on adjacent properties, then there's right-of-way impacts on that.
But let me ask you this. May I ask you this question? If you enlarge the opening, that would actually make it better.
In theory, yes, but the water flows in, and the tidal inundations on either side of the tide, up or downstream, actually are more pronounced. So if I flood you because the water's flowing more freely, that's an impact. We have to buy that. We have to
But
buy.
I don't think there's a lot of area that's past World's End, right there at the bridge, that, from my knowledge, it would really be impacted on what I would call an outgoing tide beyond that bridge. I mean, it could be
That's
assessed, and I think
That's
it
correct.
That's
That's 100% correct.
So I don't know if there'd be, you're not going to inundate a home, is what I would say.
You're not going to inundate a home, but if I simply even cover the ground up, we have to buy the right of way for it.
You're covering marsh, it gets covered all the time anyways.
I don't disagree with you there, but that's owned by somebody, and if I impact it, even if it's marsh and assessed for next to nothing,
You're impacting on muskrats.
I'm still impacting whoever's assessed for that for taxes, unfortunately.
But would you consider putting a Bailey Bridge in?
We've talked
And
about
then
that.
basically using that, even if it takes a couple of years in order to, because I've seen Bailey Bridges in operation for 3 to 5 years.
Well, and it much longer than that.
Exactly.
I mean, when we had Hurricane or Tropical Storm Agnes in '72, some of those bridges stayed up for years in there. When we've done other projects when they've been maintenance traffic, the issue is not the longevity of the Bailey Bridge.
It's a maintenance issue.
Well, you got maintenance issues, but you also, again, if I'm doing that and I'm long-term and that's a solution, like I said, we've already been told that we could not change the hydraulic opening to get this pipe out
Without a study.
without study.
For how long could you expedite a study?
I couldn't answer that right now.
Still studying for all the money from.
No, but I'm using that as an example, but it seems as though with the study, so you're saying to me you would have to do a study. Let's just say, is it between that you could actually, let me put it this way, you could do a study, okay, on one column of time. The same column of time you could actually doing a design. And at that same time, based on their requirements for the study, you could adjust your design. Is that correct? And
The
to
issue-
conform to those needs.
Yeah, but the only problem is that I still have to close the road and take the pipes out because they're not going to last long enough before these studies and other permit processes get done. We don't think the road's going to last that long. And that's unfortunate. Like I said, if this was 70 years ago, we'd have put another embankment across, put the new one in service, and took the old one out. But unfortunately, the permit is a whole completely different game.
But how far back, you can put a Bailey in and span a fairly decent distance.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I saw that last year you were doing soil borings. Has a geotechnical engineer involved looked at the soil borings and evaluated the adjacent approaches to the bridge area or to the culvert area, and they can determine a poundage per square foot loading.
Sure.
And my question is, if you know that loading capacity, you can create a footprint, usually, that will span that area. That's how they would create a footprint and a design criteria and bridge that area. I would imagine that that could stay in there a very long time while you go through your studies. And but you just made a very important point. If you don't venture or deviate from the flow characteristics, there's no reason to do a study. Is that correct? You just said that if you have a flow through there, okay? Maintain the same flow. That takes all the issues away from having to do any type of an environmental study involving the movement of the water. If you maintain the same flow characteristics. And you can do that with whether it's pipe, whether it's concrete, and whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we will have to model whatever we put in.
Right.
Like I said, in this case, it's 3 36-inch pipes.
Okay.
And, the closest thing we have to that is concrete pipe versus the corrugated metal that's there. So hydraulically speaking, those actually work better.
Right.
So, but it's the closest thing we can get without going back to metal. So we looked at head walls, things like that, to try to bolster the embankment that road will sit on in those pipes, with the framing pipes. anything different than that, when we have to do the hydraulic modeling, we have to look at the changes in the inundations on that, whether it's a bridge, a culvert, things, as I said, early on. Even if I had a temporary bridge there, I still have to take the culverts out, because ultimately what goes in.
I'm talking about even more radical change.
So, sir, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We have a lot of people. I want to give everybody a chance for all their questions. The questions will be limited to 3 minutes.
You have a card, I can send you some, I can probably send you a couple engineering firms that can help.
Yeah, that's fine. If you want, we'll get in contact with the commissioner's office. Anybody who has something like that, reach out to us for that. Otherwise, I'll certainly happily hand out business cards out here in the
Please.
Okay. Who was that?
Someone
Yes,
in the
sir.
back.
Keith Morris. I'm the caretaker of the land that's next to the World's End turn.
The gun club?
Yep,
Okay.
and Frost. You say you're going to put sheathing in the coffer dam. You going to do from the turn to turn on both sides?
No.
Why?
It's
You're going to have to, because the reason why is because you go just that small area, and when you get a big tide, she's going to come over top the turn and it's going to flow. I've seen it too many times. The other day when we were down there, the tide was that far from coming over the road, over the whole road. So you say you're going to put a coffer dam in and just do that area. Well, that coffer dam is not going to do you any good if you're not going to put it all the way across. Because when the tide comes up and it runs across, it's going to come right into what they're working on.
Well, no, we're actually going to put a circle right around the pipe area.
So you're going to cut across the road and you're going to coffer dam right across the road, everything. You're going to do that big square in there. Okay? Well, to do that, and I know Brambles, I know who's doing it, because they've used our yard down there to stock some of their equipment and stuff on. It's going to be more than 3 weeks. I'm 67-year-old, and that has never been bothered in the time that my brother and I have lived there. That culvert's never been replaced. You guys don't have a clue. You don't even, I guarantee you, you go back in your archives, you don't even have when they put it in. You're going to run into some problems there. Believe me. You're going to run into some problems, because back when I was a kid, that was just a 4-foot wide area in there. Now you've got World's End Creek that's made a creek, and on the other side it's made a creek. And then you're all worried about a flow of water coming through there? You know the problem. You know what the problem is in this world? Is our EPA wants to restrict us. MDE wants to restrict us. Then you got other organizations that want to restrict us because they're afraid that they're...
engineers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of them.
Somebody can turn their head and do the right thing and put a new bridge across that daggone thing. Straight through. You had a tractor and trailer year before last up sitting there and turned over. It was a hazmat situation. There's been many other vehicles that have had problems there, and the guy wasn't even going fast when he upset this truck. And then getting back to Shorter's Wharf. Now this is the important part. You're saying about putting weight on sinking. You want to know why that road is like it is now? Because in the past, the road was not maintained, and when you let water sit on top of a surface, it sinks it. Take a cubic yard of water and weigh it and see what it weighs. And you take that weight and you put it on there, the road's going to settle. And that's what's happening there. So I suggest, I'm like Lindsay, there is monies available. And the one big question I want to ask is, where is that $1 million that was put up first to do all these altercations? I was $1 million it was funded. And when Church Creek Road at Far Tower Street, the money was pulled from that. And it was pulled from World's End Turn. And right now, I can tell you right now, if this thing wasn't getting ready to do what it's going to do, and that was another question, you say it's getting ready to do it, well, why hasn't there been truck restrictions put on it already? If it's that bad, why wasn't truck restrictions put on it right now?
Thank you, sir.
So,
The money in Dorchester County has a habit of disappearing.
I'm sorry, say that.
I said the money in Dorchester County has a habit of disappearing.
Well, to your end, I will find out what happened with the funding line. Because I don't have a long history with it.
it was money there. It was money to help fix the secondary road or whatever they were going to detour.
Gotcha. Okay.
Roger Morris, I live a mile, Lindsay's my daughter. But I know that you're going to put it in. We know that you're going to do it. permits been there. So, it's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We're going to have to draw a charge for our bridge. You're going to have to put some blacktop on it. Dude, some of these kids, people down here, you think we're nothing, but they got new cars and stuff like that. I bet you neither one of them right there will put their new Suburbans or whatever they got. So all I'm saying, you're going to do this, and I know you are, but you got blacktop in places in Charlotte Fork Bridge, so it gives us a chance to go across that. When tide's real high, look on the water. You're going to have tide go across it, even if you blacktop it. But give us a chance during the 3 weeks. So find the money for it, blacktop Charlotte Fork, and get your thing done at World's Intern.
Good job.
Good job, Rod.
Sandy Kinney, I live on Andrews Road. I'm co-owner of WK Trucking. My husband has a tractor trailer and he drives across the country, and he's 18 tons empty. How many times is he going to be able to come through Maple Dam and the Marsh Road before that road gives out? He is very wide. What happens? All the other trucks are going to be going down this road. They're going to be going down the road. They're going to be coming up the road. What are you going to do when two tractor trailers meet on that road? And you can't even get two cars there sometimes down that road. What's he going to do? Who's going to be the first one to go in Marsh? Is he going to stay home for 3 weeks or stay on the road for 3 weeks? I want my husband home with me. I want his livelihood for our family. And you, or not you, but the situation is causing havoc with that. So where's he going to house the truck? Where's he going to work on the truck? How's he going to get home every day? It's just, and it's like Roger said, we know you're going to do it. But it's not going to be 3 weeks, because every time I go by a construction site, there's one person working and 4 people watching it. So you know it's going to be longer than 3 weeks. So there's what? A month he's not going to be home. You think that's fair to me? That I have to run my farm and keep my family straight, and he's out on the road somewhere and can't get home? That's not fair. I'm sorry.
I understand.
I mean, you don't understand. You go right to your wife every day.
Actually, I don't. I drive 2.5 hours to work every day.
Well, at least you can make it. At least you can make it, though. There's no water. There's your water.
One at a time,
Sometimes
please.
yes, actually. Sometimes yes. But here's the thing, you know, I can't control if what traffic's going to come across that road. All right, it is wide enough for 2 vehicles. Yeah. Are parts of the road going to be underwater? Possibly. I can't control that.
Yes, you can. You can pave it. You can control it. You just said you had the money. Let's do it. Let's pave it up.
We really can.
You said money was not an issue.
All right. The issue is that...
You don't want to work hard enough.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll have to respectfully disagree with you. But the point is that there are things in there where if that road does fail, we fix it. Okay? And there are things out there that are cracked up today. We rode it. We know what it's like. Right?
Okay, so God forbid that road
Ma'am, he
falls
has the,
through.
he's talking right
But
now.
I will say this. Okay, you mentioned this thing is 18 tons empty. Okay? Now, somebody who's getting deliveries down there to a store or coming up with a truck, all right, the weight restrictions on the road and the bridge should handle that. Now the question says, okay, what about a loaded pumper truck? What about a loaded fuel truck? Things like that. Things like that is why we're doing it now instead of in the winter when we have to worry about heavy trucks. We have to worry about school buses.
But you were going to until we threw a fit
The bottom
about
line
it.
is, there's not a great time to do this, ever. It's only a least worst time. Right? And I know that is small consolation for any one of us who are going to have to deal with it. Whether it's your daily commutes, whether it's getting deliveries to your homes, going to your jobs. I get that. Unfortunately, I don't have a great solution. At the end of the day, we can do everything right, but we're not going to control the tides if that's what Mother Nature's going to do. The only thing we can do is to try to give you the best idea of what's going on for situational awareness
But you can't blacktop it though. You got the money, blacktop it.
We don't have the money.
Well,
to
you
buy
just
it.
said
Not right now.
That doesn't make sense. Who do I have to call then? Let's partner up.
Well,
You and me.
you're-
I'll tell that story about my son all day long. It's a serious issue. Let's blacktop it. Do we need federal funding? Is there emergency funding available? What funding have you pursued already to be able to blacktop it? Can you tell us that? What avenues have you pursued to get the money, the emergency funds, to blacktop it to make it passable?
That question
It's
is
your
not
responsibility
directed
to
to me.
make your detour passable.
Okay, the question was not directed to me, all right? I don't automatically go in and pave a county road to do that.
I asked you about the funding.
If we go through and we break something because of what we do, we fix it, okay? I don't have unilateral ability to go pave off the state system. I can't do that, or else.
Is it
I
true
won't
that
be
the
working
state
there.
has the responsibility to maintain their detour to make it passable throughout all weather conditions? And I'm quoting the state highway manual that I read today that said that. Is it the state's responsibility to maintain your detour, to make it passable in, quote, all weather conditions? Is that true or false?
Absolutely.
Then pave the road and make it passable.
No.
Well, it's not passable now. I mean,
That's
what she
point
just
is.
told you.
It's
So
not
why
passable
haven't you
now.
looked in this
And
to
we're
make
not-
sure it is passable? That's all
Have you
we're
sought out
asking.
emergency funding? Have you sought out federal funding?
We have not.
Have you asked for state funding to pave it to make it passable?
We have not.
Can you do that after this meeting?
Our discussions with the county were to fix what we break.
As the
Not
state, can
preemptively
you
pave it.
pursue money to make that road, your detour route, safely passable before you close the only artery in and out?
Yes.
Can you pursue that after
We'll
this meeting?
discuss it with county leadership. I don't have the ability to just lock, stock, pave whatever I feel like paving.
I asked you if you could ask for the funding.
And I
You've
just
got
said,
Senator
we will
Mount
have-
sitting
we
here.
will
Can
have
we form a
discussions with
partnership?
county leadership.
Can we form a partnership?
Okay.
Maybe get the feds involved
We'll
too?
have discussions with
Whoever
leadership.
needs to be involved.
Let's stop right now for a second. Senator Moss, why don't you address things with her?
Well, Judge, I have a quick question for, yeah, absolutely, we will have a partnership, we already do. I mean, I'm learning as the questions are being asked. I want to thank everybody for being here to ask questions, because I'm getting educated about all the different ideas and things. And I know the county and the engineer have been working and talking for a while, and I'm glad we're having this open discussion
years.
right now.
We've been talking about
For
this.
years.
For
We've been here
years.
For years. And I haven't been a part of those conversations. But for today's purposes and what we're talking about, is there a timeline? Like, does this need to happen? Is there some reason that it has to happen by a certain date? I mean, in other words, this is discretionary, right? It's our discretion. You want to do it before it gets washed out.
Well,
Because then,
we wanted to do it last fall.
right.
That's how urgent we felt it was. But the issue was, your tires are typically higher, schools are in session. We're
Right.
starting to get into heating season, so you've got different users of this depot potentially versus now school.
Well, is a Bailey Bridge a valid consideration? Has that been discussed, the Bailey Bridge?
We have looked at trying to do different options to build culverts, either causeways with smaller culverts, bridge. We looked at all this.
But the Bailey Bridge, this Bailey Bridge concept, I'm just learning about that. I mean, has the council, have you discussed that with the council?
That's the Acker Bridge, that's, we talked about that.
And so the answer was you can't do that type of
It's going to result in different impacts to the wetlands, and it's a change in hydraulic opening.
Do we care about wetlands or we care about people? I mean, let's be serious.
Well, do we have time then, if we want to bring Congressman Harris and bring the U.S. Coast Guard and bring a group together to look at the permitting and the hydraulic flow?
Yes.
Do we have time to form a group to work on it diligently, quickly, to make it a priority, to see if there is an option for us to do something other than close the bridge?
You can look at anything.
Right.
You know, it's just a question, does the pipe last that long?
Right.
And that's an unknown that none of us really are absolutely.
Mark, if that pipe were to wash out, or that cross it, how long do you think it would be to fix that? If a storm took it out, I only think that area would be closed.
It's similar to what we're doing now, really. You have to, depending on the watershed, it might be a larger portion of the road that's affected.
Right.
And you have to do the same thing. You have to put a work area, cordon it off, de-water, put the pipes in, and get it back in service.
Thanks.
If John is doing.
Please stand and give us your name and address, please.
Wayne Paul, 3278 Golden Hill Road. I live on the northern side of it, so it really don't affect us. But me and my wife are the only two MTs on that side of the road. The only two. And as everybody in this room knows, over the years, it's all according on what side of Humber River you live on before you get anything. And my question is, if there's a fire down in the Lakes and Straits District, they're not going to bring them big fire trucks and all that tankers down there. You put people's life, property. Of course, it's always been on our side of the river. Life and property didn't mean nothing. It's all according to where you are in this county. And all I want to know is, if somebody should happen to lose their life or their property, who's going to be reimbursing? I bet that bunch ain't. Is what I'm saying. Because the money in this county, wherever it has been allotted, it goes another direction. Because we've had a channel for 30 years that ain't never been done. The money, all we got the money has been allotted to do this. You're going to have that. Where'd it go? Same thing's going to be with people's lives, people's property. This was not thought out by anybody involved in it. None. And it's going to be catastrophic because something will happen. Rest assured, when this is all started. Watch. Does everybody agree with me?
Yes.
It's going to happen. It's inevitable. And I just want to know who's going to be responsible for it. When I got to look at my neighbors, I look down the road a half a mile, and I can't get to them, me or my wife, I'm sorry. I don't know how you people live with yourself. I do not. That's all I got to say.
Yes, sir.
Scott Hughes, 2581 Croton Road. Got a question. Then correct me when I stop me when I'm wrong. It's a state road, correct?
Yes, sir.
State project.
Yes, sir.
The disruption is caused by maintaining the state road. Again, correct.
That's correct.
Then the state, and not the county, the state is responsible for safe egress on and off that route. It's not this guy's problem. This shouldn't be their problem at all. Somebody needs to go and get 6,000 yards of blacktop and 2 miles of road. You got David Branville under contract to do the thing. He's the biggest paver, one of the biggest paving companies on the East Coast of the United States. It's a single 2-day job that he'd be in and out and gone.
Not even 2 miles.
Huh?
It's not even 2 miles.
Well,
That's
roughly
what
2
the
miles.
manual says.
Either way.
The
It's
manual
a
says it's your responsibility.
It is a state, and then she's right, so they drive right. But
It's your responsibility.
the problem is this is a state responsibility. The state responsibility to maintain the road. We pay taxes to the state. This is not county taxes. Yes, the county road would benefit, but you're absolutely, positively, legally required to present safe egress. And Marsh Road, along with Elliott Island Road and Griffith's Neck Road and a whole bunch of other roads all scattered all around here they have to deal with this every single day of life. But 5 generations born on Elliott. Tide is no stranger to nobody down there. But when you get to the point where there is zero option but to go, we're talking about, and actually the blacktop will probably cost more than the culvert replacement, but either way, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not going to do the math. It's about 6,000 yards to do it. Just do it. Just call David, pick him up, crank the blacktop plant up, put it down, and bring it. If he brings his whole crew down here, we're talking about 2 days at the most to run that. It's only a 20-foot wide road. I mean, it's 2 runs with a loop. You're talking. Don't turn this into some big, huge operation that's like you've got to reinvent the wheel. Just put the 6 or 8 inches of blacktop down on the road. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. The tests are the road bed in there. The blacktop road bed's 2 feet thick. I'm not going to disagree with you. That's fact. Because that's the solution. That's not a permanent solution. But it is an active solution that will alleviate all of this. It eliminates liability to the county because, again, Dwayne said, if anything happens, it's on the state. It's not on the county. If anything at all goes sideways in this deal, it's your responsibility. So,
To add on to Lindsay's issues and her experience with her son injuries, 4 weeks ago I almost lost my house because my neighbor decided to burn trash when the wind was blowing. Yes, there were neighbors that came and tried to put it up the best they could. Had the fire trucks not been able to get to my house, I would have lost it with my 82-year-old mother in there because she can't get out the house by herself. Yeah. If fire trucks couldn't have got there, my house would be gone right now, and the neighbor doesn't care. And I could have lost my house because World's End Road is the only way to get to my house, the quickest way.
Yes, sir.
I'm Ted Abbott. I was born and raised at Shoulders Wharf Bridge. It's from Shoulders Wharf Bridge to that first point of woods is 1.5 miles. It's 5 places in a normal tide that comes over that marsh road. So if obviously these people know that they were going to shut this down, I can't see why that they haven't gone ahead and even wedge that road and build it up so we can get by. I'm 86 years old. I've seen a lot of oyster shells and poles put on that road. And I'm going to tell you, it stayed there for a while. It's doing it. But like I say, it's 5 places on that road that goes down on a normal no-easter. And it's about 1.5 miles from Shoulders Wharf Bridge to Joe's Point. Been through it a few times in 86 years. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bonnie Abbott, 3198 Lakesville Road. We live right past World's End. My concern is, and thanks for fixing it. Everybody's happy that you're going to fix it.
It needs to be fixed.
But fix the marsh road. So if we have an ambulance call, my husband had a spell last year. We was 25 minutes getting an ambulance coming the front way. What is it going to be if they come the back way and the tide's up and the ambulance can't get there? That first hour, he had a mini stroke. That first hour, if he hadn't got help, what is your plan? You can't airlift everybody out of there. Who makes the decision that you get airlifted?
It's not going to be me as a highway engineer. I can promise you that.
But it's your responsibility to have us be able to have ambulance service, to have fire trucks. Just like Barbie said, her house would have burnt down if them other community fire companies couldn't get it. What's your solution for an ambulance? That's my main concern, is all the residents. We have elderly people. Over 50% of the people in the lower part of the county are elderly people. You don't have to be elderly to need an ambulance. But we need to be able, we're just like everybody else. We're just like Cambridge. Ambulance gets to them, the fire trucks get to them. We're the same type of people.
Just patch it up temporarily.
Fix the marsh road, then fix the culvert, do what you got to do.
We hear you. All right, trust me, I will go back and take a look at it. I promise. Excuse me?
I said no, you won't. All
I'm
these
sorry,
people,
but
all
I'm
these
not
people are
listening to that.
telling
Yes.
you what they need, and you're not responding to them.
My name's
I
Robin
am.
Phillips,
All right,
and I live
and
at
I take exception to that.
2426 Hooper's Island Road. Even though I live on the other side of the river, I have a 93-year-old mother that lives at Bishop's Head and a niece that's very sickly. I am responsible for taking them to all of their doctor's appointments. Right now, it's not quite 30 miles for me to go around by World's End Turn. What's going to happen when I have to go all the way around? And I keep hearing about tide on a tidal day on Shorter's Wharf, where tides over Shorter's Wharf Road on any day. On a normal day. My main question is, when is this going to start? Because I called 3 or 4 times and all I get is soon as school's out. Well, I'm trying to schedule doctor's appointments. Right now, I'm holding off the last 2 weeks of June. I don't know when to schedule these appointments.
Sure.
This week I had 3. Every week I have doctor's appointments, a lot. And I'm trying to figure out when is this supposed to start, and it's going to be an inconvenience for me, a big inconvenience, because I would have to go all the way around through Key Wallace Road and Shorter's Wharf Road, and I don't usually put my car, and I live on Hooper's Island, you might not believe it, but I don't put my car through tight. So, and I don't like it. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but right now I'm trying to keep from making appointments on certain dates, because I don't even know when you're supposed to start.
Well, based on having this meeting, we'll go back and make sure.
Mark, before you, real quick, I just want to say, in regards to some of the questions about ambulance service, fire service, I know that our emergency manager is here in the back of the room, as well as the county manager, and our staff have been working with our emergency resources, with all public safety resources, looking at options. I know that, Mark, you can say as a fire chief, serious call, you're going to get a helicopter. I mean, it's not the first time that that's been done down there. So anything that's severe, we always have Maryland State Police Aviation that we can call. Other options are some of the higher lift vehicles in the area. And I know that's not a perfect answer, but we are actively working with the state in the different levels of Maryland Department of Emergency Management, as well as our internal fire companies and our EMS, to make sure that we have some plans in place for situations that do come up. I'm sorry, I just want to interject with that.
Blacktop Road.
Real quick, Mr. Travers.
Blacktop
Wait, real
Road.
quick. Wait a second. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that this board give the approval, if the state finds the money, to Blacktop.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? So you're saying that
You don't have to, now you know you've got the approval to do it. All you got to do is find the stuff.
All we got to do is just talk with folks and see what we got to do. We're going to try to get it.
Got the approval, we got the money, let's get
Shouldn't
started.
the county be responsible for some of that because it wasn't county road to
Let me
begin
get
with?
to him first, sir.
Hold on, man, we got to put that.
Hold up a second. We have a motion on the floor, sir. We're having discussion.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Thank you very much. So discussion as far as that, we do not have, my knowledge, we do not have that money in our budget for the
not our
fund.
money.
Oh, you're saying not our money?
Not our money.
So you're saying if the
We are
state,
gonna allow them to
Senator
pay it.
Motz and
Yes.
the state highway can find money, is
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if the state can find money, or the federal government can find money, that we would allow for paving.
Yes. They don't have to worry about it. We're going to give them the go-ahead to do it.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So that's something, if an option presents itself, and we can find funds.
We'll be making calls on it.
Absolutely, understood, yes, sir.
So Mark, that's kind of what I was asking earlier. I mean, can we have a month? Can we have a month to get the local political people, the governor's office, and the congressional people to kind of focus on this?
Oh, trust me, I'll be sending emails tonight on them as soon as I get home.
Great. Well, we can have a month.
Well, we'll look and see in terms of what's got to happen.
Is there a problem with requesting that opportunity until, I think a month is June 9th?
Yeah, I don't think that the issue, Johnny, the thing is not the issue on the permit doesn't have a very defined window. So the answer to that question is probably yeah. You know, the issue is a matter of all the folks that are going to have to be looped into conversations to talk about money for paving stuff. You know, there are different checkbooks of money that come around, and that program is differently funded than what's actually going to do the culverts. They're just simply different checkbooks, if you will.
But so we can get it's safe to say we could have about a month to put something together.
I'll be asking and see how quickly something could be done. Because the answer is there's fund managers for the statewide overlay monies,
Right.
They're not in this conversation, obviously, but they need to be looked at.
Well, yeah, I notified the Secretary's office today,
Yeah.
and the Governor's office, and, the Congressman, I don't think he's really had an opportunity to delve into it, and for that matter, I don't think the Corps of Engineers, with our support, has been involved, at least not that I'm aware of. I mean, those are things we could do in a month and bring them all to bear to see if there's some opportunities.
So I think that with this public hearing tonight has kind of made a turn for a new idea of approach. Look at this, look for additional funding, state, federal resources to see what we can do. I'd just like to see, I know you all came here tonight with this concern. Can I see by a raise of hands, how many people came here because of the concern of World's End Turn tonight? The majority of the people in the room here tonight.
Plus
So,
the people in the hall.
and if people are out in the hall, I can see people out there raising their hands. So I think what we're going to do is let's take a break on this right now. We're going to look at another angle in this too, to look for some additional funding for some other opportunities. Trust me, we would love to do this. Please don't think we're trying to push any kind of an issue on the citizens of this county. It's just, I'm not an engineer. We're going by all the professional standards that the state engineers are explaining to us. I trust them. We have a great relationship with Mark and his crew for other great projects that they help us with here. But as of right now, so I appreciate everyone coming tonight in regards to World's End Turn. Well, we're gonna go ahead and cut it off right here, and we thank you very much for coming. Ma'am?
I do have one thing to ask.
One
You
last
said
thing.
you had Golden Hill Road. I'm above World's End Turn, but my husband and I are both EMTs, and we're for the whole lower part.
Yes, ma'am.
Culver's Island and Lakes and Straits. You said you're working with the county as far as like management for some type of
Yes, ma'am.
service.
Yes, ma'am.
Can they, during the time that World's End Turn is being fixed, can the county station an ambulance somewhere in a location where it would be quick to get to, like the
That is a
Sorter
consideration under situation right now.
It has been discussed.
Has been
That
discussed.
would be a big help to the lower part of the county.
Jimmy's on that, as well as the county manager, Mr. Jones, have already been discussing these options. So thank you for that, once again. Thank you all for coming.